very much. Thank you for inviting me. And yeah, today I am going to talk to you about digital skills and some really good research that has been published recently, which is interesting for you all to see. But I want to start with just sharing my personal story. I was born in Amsterdam, and I lived throughout my teenage years in the US. When I returned to the Netherlands, I was about 18 years old, and I had to decide what to study. I wanted to do something mathematical, solve some complex solutions, but I wanted everything to be in English, all my books. And that's why I chose computer science. So, I get to the auditorium, first day, I look, and I am in shock. 200 men, 6 women. Oh my goodness. The girl who I just met at the coffee corner sat next to me, and we looked across the room. I won't go into details, but it's like this gaming look. And the girl said, "I'm not going to study here. This is an awful environment." She left the same week. I stayed. I graduated in robotics and artificial intelligence. Little did I know that that would be high in demand. When we would go to a student party and somebody would ask, "Hey, nice to meet you. What are you studying?" I would say, "Computer science." And they'd say, "Ooh." It was the image. It was not only a bad image, it was like a weird image. We had to deal with it. I learned later 25% of my class graduated, and I am convinced those 75%, a lot of them left due to the image, due to the surroundings we were in. I started my career in IT and management consultancy. And the great news was, more women. 10%, which at the time I thought, woo, that's a lot more. That's crazy, actually. What I felt was the greatest is that we had people with different educational backgrounds that would help our customers, that we are solving digitalization problems, with different educational backgrounds, like from finance, design, or communication. It really helped us to solve customer problems by looking at things from different perspectives. After my consultancy time, I joined Randstad, which is now 20 years ago. And yeah, basically I help Randstad customers to help them with their specialized talent solutions. And I can tell you, often our customers are dealing with technical scarcities across the globe, which is of course close to my heart. And also with my personal story, I try to convince more women to pursue a career in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, because I still think it's still the image that we're dealing with. So today, I would want to share with you actually the facts, right? I like mathematics, so 2 great research reports came out. One of them, first from the OECD, has really deep insights about the digital transition. 10 key markets in Europe were researched, and the basic outcome is technology is being embraced by entire industries, from healthcare, manufacturing, etc. You all know this, right? Either to cut costs, or improve efficiencies, or innovate, all these type of things. The main question is, what does that do for jobs? And evidence in this report shows that there will be 85 million could be likely displaced by 2025 due to implementing technologies. But those are mainly jobs that require repetitive tasks or mundane tasks. When we look at the positive side, 100 million new jobs will be created due to technology. And that is important. That's what we need to remember. The outcome is overwhelmingly positive. The research report also gives some practical answers, and I've heard a lot of you say we need to be skilling. It really says we really need to do that focused and targeted to specific groups. So if you look at, first of all, what does a big data say? For example, advertising sales agents, it looks like those jobs will be diminished by 18%. When we look into digital marketing specialist roles, those jobs are likely to increase by 22%. So companies can look at what are the similarities between those type of roles, because there's a huge amount of skill overlap in these type of jobs. And so then we should offer our colleagues a retraining plan in specific, for example, in this case, provide them web analytics and online marketing information. And fourth, and this is also crucial, I know from personal experience, if you transition into a role within a company, you should treat those people just as newcomers. Make sure there's a proper induction program, that they are introduced, and that management regularly checks in with them. Make sure that the next step is truly what they want. Second, research that was conducted by Randstad has a little bit of a broader scope. 26 markets from the Americas, Europe, and Asia Pacific were investigated. And yeah, I'm just deeply impressed by what the team did. Millions and millions of job postings, worker profiles were investigated, and they looked into things like what's the supply, what's the demand, what is compensation, what's gender diversity, what is educational background, what is industry sector, all these details, 150 pages, I recommend really to read all. And with all the terms and phrases in these postings and profiles, they come up with a top 10 list every year. And this is the top 10 list of highest in demand skill clusters. Look at the top 7 on this list. It's all digital skills. That's outrageous when we think about it. This is the sense of urgency that, of course, the reason why we are having a conference like this. But I look at that list, and I look at number 1. And I think about that girl 35 years ago that sat next to me and could have graduated in artificial intelligence just like me. What opportunities did she miss? So the list makes me a little bit sad as well. But good news, there's a whole bunch of information in this report. Things like, how do you actually map the highest in-demand skill clusters to the skills that are being asked? I heard one of the previous speakers, Python. Yeah, you can see that. It really helps employers as well as talent to look into what type of skills do I need to train myself in. So again, I recommend to read the reports. It's extremely insightful. Things that raise my eyebrows. AI, machine learning roles have the highest share of remote. 25% of those jobs are asked more to do on a remote basis. And of course, this opens up the opportunity, if being highest in demand, we can do these things remote. The IT sector actually employs the majority of IT skills in the US. Well, what if you are not in the IT sector and you'd like to attract tech talent? You really need to have a good employee value proposition. But there's good news, right? 20% of the business intelligence specialists actually don't have a IT or computer science background, and 16% of UI UX designers also come with a design background. So there's lots of hope, lots of detail, but again, women still as low as 15% in the digital skills area. We really should make sure that that does not happen anymore. I hear a lot of the trainers here say we need to train on soft skills, and I'm very happy that you consider that. Cloud engineers are expected to grow tremendously, like 100% growth of these jobs over the next 5 years. However, when we look and deep dive into those job profiles, they all ask teamwork, critical thinking, but it's like over-asking this super scarce group. Let's think about getting these people first into a cloud engineering role and training them while on the job, making it a more smooth ride, because it's way too difficult. All right, so from these research reports, Randstad has, let's say, 4 key takeaways that I can definitely recommend. First of all, prioritize learning at all learning stages in your career. And I've personally had the opportunity, I've been with the company for 20 years, right? I moved from IT into sales, into finance, and that is super important that we all do that. Cisco has had, let's say, the world's largest corporate social responsibility program. They trained more than 12 million people in 180 countries over the last 20 years. That's amazing. We need more. We need more of that. Second of all, let's shape the policy to encourage those studies of the future. I think about my class, only 25% graduated. Did the others know? Were there any incentives to stay? Were they guided when they made the decision, let's just leave, I don't like it here? We should not allow that to happen. We should make sure that people know what they need to do, what they need to train themselves in to prepare themselves for the future. And then third of all, we need to embrace this new social contract with employees. When we look into our Randstad Work Monitor, which we do yearly, we interview 10,000 employees and we ask them, what do you want? And they all say, I want a more empathetic employer. Okay, great. So all these companies are setting up wellness programs and all sorts of work-life balances, which is fantastic, which is surely what talent needs. But we also need to make talent understand that those type of programs are quite costly, and do they actually do what you want on the long run? Like I said, the reason I stayed with Randstad, because I was able to broaden my skills, develop myself internationally. That's the reason why I stayed, not because we had an online yoga class. So I'm not critical of those programs, but I do think there needs to be a conversation within your company, management and employees. What do you really want? What makes you stay? And fourth and final, flexible really is the status quo. We all learned during the pandemic to be able to work remote, but also towards flexible schedules. And that gives us a huge opportunity for the future. So I conclude by sending you these QR codes of these two reports. Again, loads and loads of data specific to geography, specific to industry sectors that I recommend for you all to read and make a more targeted approach towards this digital skills training that is needed. And personally, yeah, I think these reports are so much in line with my personal story. Digital skills are prevailing and will in the future. Learning is not a one-time thing. You need to do that throughout your career, throughout your life. That's super important. Women should have an equitable position in any company, in any skill cluster, and digital is just no exception. And companies really should embrace the diversity, the flexibility that comes with today's modern world. So I'm convinced we can all do this. Employers, entrepreneurs, educational institutions, governments, but also employees. The future is bright. Thank you.
Anka Gajentaan, grazie mille. Thanks so much.
Human Forward. Randstad.